You're looking at one of the last places on Earth we thought we truly knew. From up here, the Amazon looks like nothing but trees, a green ocean that runs to the horizon, unbroken, silent, empty. For 100 years, that is exactly what everyone believed was under it. Nothing. They were wrong, because hidden beneath those trees, in a valley in eastern Ecuador, there was a city. Not a village, not a camp. A city with streets, neighborhoods, and roads that ran straight as a ruler for miles. And it had been sitting there, in the dark, under the leaves, for more than 2,000 years, waiting for someone to look at it the right way. For as long as anyone had studied it, the Amazon had a reputation. People called it a green desert. The soil was too poor, the jungle too thick, the rivers too wild for any large society to grow here. Small tribes, maybe, but nothing you could call a civilization. So when a French archaeologist named Stephen Rostain arrived in the Upano Valley almost 30 years ago and started finding strange mounds of earth, most of his colleagues shrugged. A few hills, probably nothing. Rostain didn't think it was nothing, but for 20 years he couldn't prove what his gut was telling him. The forest was simply too big and too dense to see. Here is the thing about the Amazon that makes it so good at keeping secrets. The trees. Stand on the ground and you can see a few meters before the green swallows everything. Walk for a day and you might pass 10 paces from a buried plaza and never know it was there. The forest wasn't just hiding the city, it was protecting it from us. To find what was down there, you couldn't walk in. You had to make the trees disappear. And that is almost exactly what they did. The tool is called LiDAR. A plane flies low over the forest, firing hundreds of thousands of laser pulses a second at the ground. Most hit leaves and bounce back, but a few slip through the tiny gaps in the canopy, all the way to the forest floor. A computer keeps only those and throws the trees away, every single one. And what was left on the screen stopped the room cold. This wasn't a few mounds, it was a grid, thousands of rectangular platforms in neat lines, plazas, long straight roads cutting across the whole valley. Someone had planned this. Someone had drawn a city into the earth, and the jungle had grown over their work and hidden it for 2,000 years. The maps covered around 300 square kilometers of the valley. In it, more than 6,000 earthen platforms, the raised foundations where houses and public buildings once stood. At least 15 separate settlements, all connected, and between them, a network of wide roads dug straight into the ground. This was not a handful of huts. This was a landscape shaped, on purpose, by a huge number of people working together over a very long time. The exact thing everyone had spent a century insisting could not exist here. But of everything the lasers found, one detail stays with you: the roads. Most ancient paths wander. They follow the easy ground, around the hill, along the river. These didn't. These ran dead straight. And when two of them met, they crossed at a perfect right angle, a clean corner, like a modern city on a grid. Some ran straight for miles. To build a road like that, through jungle and broken ground, you don't just clear a path. You decide in advance where it will go, and you force the land to obey. That takes planning, leaders, workers, a shared idea of how a city should be. Exactly the kind of society everyone said had never lived here. So who were they? This is where it gets strange. Radiocarbon dating puts the city's life from around 500 years before Christ to somewhere between 300 and 600 years after. This place was already old, already busy, more than 1,000 years before the famous cities of the Aztecs and the Inca we learn about in school. It is, as far as we know, the oldest network of lost cities ever found in the entire Amazon. And here is the humbling part. We know they farmed in neat fields. We know they drained the wet ground with clever ditches. We know they lived in the thousands. But their name, what they called themselves, the language they spoke, the stories they told their children at night, all of it is gone. The forest kept their streets. It did not keep their voice. Try for a moment to stand in it as it was. Not a ruin, a living place. Smoke rising from cooking fires on 1,000 earthen platforms. Kids running down those straight roads between the houses. Fields of crops on the terraces above, drained by channels someone dug by hand. Neighbours you knew. A place you were born and expected to die, and never once thought of as ancient, because to them it was simply home. Everything you feel about your own street, your own town, they felt it too here, 25 centuries ago, in a place we were certain had always been empty. And then, at some point, it ended. The fires went out, the fields went quiet, the people left or died or scattered, and the jungle moved back in. Why? The honest answer is we are not sure. But this valley sits in the shadow of a mountain named Sangay, one of the most active volcanoes on the continent, a peak that still smokes today. Many researchers think the answer is written in its ash, that an eruption or many may have buried the fields and finally made this place impossible to live in. A city that took 1,000 years to build ended perhaps by a mountain that would not stop burning. But even that is a best guess. The valley has not finished talking yet, because here is what that discovery really did. It didn't just find one lost city, it broke the rule. For 100 years, we said the Amazon was empty, no history worth the name. And a single flight with a laser proved we had been standing on top of the evidence the whole time, unable to see it for the trees. So now the obvious question hangs over everything. If a city this big, this old, could hide for 2,000 years in one valley in Ecuador, what else is down there? The Amazon is nearly 7 million square kilometers of forest. We have scanned the tiniest sliver of it. Somewhere under that green ocean, there are almost certainly more streets, more plazas, more roads running straight through the dark, whole worlds of people we have forgotten. I have spent a long time watching what people build and what they leave behind. And this is the part that stays with me. A city doesn't have to be destroyed to be lost. Sometimes it just has to be forgotten, quietly, patiently, one falling leaf at a time, until even the ground forgets anyone was ever here. Those people were sure their home would last forever. So are you about yours. The only difference between a living city and a lost one is time, and who is left to remember. The trees kept their secret for 2,000 years. Now you know it too. Try not to forget them again.